Tanya Sumner is going to speak for us today, and she's, she deserves a fabulous intro, and all she has to do is stand, and her fabulousness comes through and precedes her. We're happy to have you here today.
Danny asked me, how do you want me to introduce you? And I said, fabulously. Hello. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Tanya Sumner. Am I on? I'm on. Thank you. And actually, when I was asked to speak, I was told it was I let go and I let God. And so that's what I was planning my talk on. And this is divine. This is synchronicity. Somewhere, someone posted or sent an email or something, said my talk was on forgiveness. And I said, what? What? And I saw it 2 or 3 times from different people. So I said, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening. So I got to work on this. And it's funny because my best friend and I have been saying for a couple of years, we want to do a workshop on forgiveness. Because darn if that isn't the hardest, most challenging thing for us to work on. So we've been talking about it. Well, Divine stepped in and is having me talk about it right now. So I'm a spiritual warrior. How many of you can say you're a spiritual warrior? Ooh, good. And those who may not be familiar, or at least my interpretation of a spiritual warrior, is that we know that we're partners with God, right? And we act like it. That means we do our part. And what is our part? Totally trusting in God, right? So I'm going to tell you a story that I don't just tell anybody, but I'll tell you what was nurturing me, leading me into these teachings. And it was about 15 years ago, I was going through a divorce, and with 2 toddlers and a teenager. And my ex-husband was from Jordan, the Middle East. And unexpectedly, we worked it out where he could take the children to visit their family in Jordan. And I had been there several times, and I love it. It's a beautiful country, beautiful culture, beautiful people. So he took the kids, and it was supposed to be for 3 months. It was on my daughter's 3rd birthday, and she's my baby. And then my Omar is 4, and then my teenager. 3 months come and go, and it's Christmas, and they're supposed to come home, and they're not coming home. So I get on a flight over to Jordan to get them. Well, and I was always in touch with them as much as I could be. There was I think it was a Kuwait war. I feel bad, I'm not really sure, but there was a war going on at that time. And it was hard to get through some days. But, I did my part, and we talked as much as we could. So I get back there, and he offers me an ultimatum. He says, either you stay married to me and you'll have the kids the rest of your life, or you walk out that door and you'll never see them again. And I could do 2 more talks about what occurred that whole, I think I was there 3 weeks. But like I said, that's another 2 talks. So he actually has me escorted onto the plane. I neglected to mention comes from a very powerful family in Jordan. In fact, right now, he works for the King of Jordan. And anyways, he has me escorted by the military in that airport onto the plane because I fought the first plane. I didn't get on. I told you I'm a warrior. I don't go down without fighting. But I get on this plane and I'm lost. How many of you hit rock bottom? At least once. What a gift, right? What a gift. Because you can't go any further. You're at the bottom. So I get on this plane and I don't know what. Thank God it was raining because I must have looked like I had been standing in the rain. And we have a layover in Heathrow Airport in London. So I get off the plane and I'm in a daze. I'm really shell-shocked. And I'm walking through the airport and there's, I don't know if the Heathrow, but there's bookstores on every corner. So I walk in one, and I walk up to a self-help section. And it might have been a spiritual section. And I made a deal with God. How many of you have done that? We've all done that. God, just give me this, and I'll give you whatever you want. So I'm standing there in front of that section, and I said, God, this is it. You show me what I need to read, what I need to know to get me to get up tomorrow morning, to get me home. And my hand went up. And this is 15 years ago, but it's still very powerful. My hand went up, and it fell on a book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. Never heard of the man, never heard of the book, but my hand was on that book. And I purchased it. I didn't care how much it was. And I get on that flight to San Francisco, and it's about a 9-hour flight, if I remember correctly. And I had that book read from front to back. And by the time those doors to that plane opened, I knew I had to do something. I had to be the spiritual warrior. I had to move my feet. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. But I knew that I could get up the next day. I knew that I could go on living. And I knew I needed to do something. So cut back to my best friend who was here last time. She's my soul sister through and through. She's my sister. She had been inviting me to this church she was going to in Los Angeles for over a year, and I was too busy. I was busy with the kids, busy with the divorce, just too busy. So I called her up, and I said, I'm ready to go to that church. I'm ready. I'm ready. So I go down, she lives in Bakersfield, and I go down there, and we drive up to LA, and it turned out to be the Agape International Spiritual Center. Never heard of it. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith was speaking, never heard of him at that time, 15 years ago. So I'm sitting, and back then it was 3 times smaller than it is now. It's just multiplied. And but it's still huge then, maybe 700-800 people in the audience. And he's speaking, and as he's speaking, he's looking directly in my eyes, in my head, right? Have you been to that concert or that show where, oh, he looked at me, he's like, but it wasn't that, it was his message. His message was about letting go and letting God. And every word he spoke resonated through me. So the service is over, the choir sings I Release. I'm like, oh my God. And we get up to go, and back then they only had about 50 practitioners, someone who prays with you. And they line the perimeter of the sanctuary in their chairs, and you line up. There's a huge line to go talk with them, pray with them. And my girlfriend goes, go get in line. I want to go to the bookstore and shop a while. I said, why? She says, go talk to a practitioner. And I'm like, what's a practitioner? And she says, trust me, just go. So she literally takes my hand and puts me in line. And when it's my turn, I go and I sit and I pray with this lovely woman. I couldn't tell you what she looked like. I couldn't tell you her name. But by the time she finished that prayer, I knew what faith was. I knew that I was getting those kids back. I didn't know for how long. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But what really touched me is she didn't just pray for my truth or my kids' truth. She prayed for my ex-husband's truth. And I'm not a vengeful person. I never was. And I never wished him harm. I just wanted my kids. And so to be with someone who could truthfully pray for someone that you care about, and you know that they're not doing it for whatever reasons. They do it because that's all they know. I really was moved. I trusted, I knew that I was getting those kids back. So we're leaving the church, and we went the next week. And the second time we're leaving, I said, so by the way, what kind of church is this? Yeah. She says, religious science. At that time, it was religious science. I said, oh, Lord, it's a good thing you never told me, because being raised an evangelist, I would have never walked foot in that church. But it changed my life. It opened me up to these teachings, to all New Thought teachings, to acceptance of all religions. So the first thing I had to do was forgive. And the first person I had to forgive was myself. Because how can we expect to forgive others if we can't forgive ourselves first? And I had to forgive myself because, trust me, I had the naysayers. What? You didn't stay married to him so you could have your kids? What do you mean letting him take them to Jordan? I mean, it was all done legally. We had a four-way with attorneys, and we signed papers that they could visit for 3 months. But the government doesn't always recognize stuff like that. So I had to forgive myself, not only from people getting on me, but inside the race that was going on in my mind. And forgiveness is a process. It's not an overnight. For some, it might be. For me, it might be a year. It might be 5 years. It might be a lifetime. But as long as we're in that process, we're moving. We're doing our part. So how do we forgive? We let go. And I had to let go of the whats, the wheres, the whens about getting my children back. And I really did. I mean, my parents thought I was crazy. They wanted to have me institutionalized because I went on with my life. You know, I still had the pain, but I went on with my life because I trusted. I knew that everything was unfolding perfectly, not only for me, but for those children and for my ex-husband. So 4 months later, I don't know if he got tired of raising kids. I don't know if he got tired. My daughter's a little spitfire. Her name's Aisha, and it fits her because she is, at 3 years old, I want my mommy when I would call, you know. But he sent them back 4 months later. And my whole plan wasn't to keep them, okay, because I'm living for God. And if God felt they were better off in Jordan with nannies and a sprawling ranch on the Dead Sea and horses, or me back here on welfare, I was willing to do what it took. Again, my parents wanted to have me institutionalized, but I met with a practitioner. I prayed, I meditated, and the truth was they belonged with me. At that time, I really felt that, with an open relationship. With their father, if that's what they chose. So yes, I have my kids. They're now 17 and 18 years old. And unfortunately, they haven't seen him since, yet we've welcomed him. I think he's concerned I might have him arrested because he never sent a dime for child support. But that was my forgiveness. I saw this whole ordeal of losing them for 4 months, or actually 7, as a gift. Don't feel sorry for me. This was a gift that made me realize there is nothing I can't do with God. Nothing. So I am grateful for that experience. But then I realized, because I have a doctor, and every time I go see him, he says, have you written that book yet? Not Without My Children? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And I would ask, why haven't I done that? And then it came to me 10 years afterward. I still had some stuff I needed to forgive him for. And that was the financial aspect of it, because I was always struggling. And I was sometimes working 3 jobs and didn't get to be with my children like I would like. So realize that even though you think you may have forgiven, there still may, and I honor it. I recognize it. I'm not going to condemn myself. You know what? So what? I'm angry with this person, or I'm still dealing with these emotions. God bless me as I work through them. So be very careful. Don't confuse forgiving with trusting, okay? Forgiveness is one thing, but that doesn't mean you need to trust. And I'm not talking, my ex-husband actually is a very wonderful man, very successful, very wonderful. So I'm not here necessarily referring to him. And there have been other instances where I'm working on forgiveness still. Yet, that doesn't mean you get to be in my tribe. If we have danced a dance that did not serve both of our highest good, then we get to make the decision if we get to come in each other's tribe again. That doesn't mean I can't forgive. And I do have a struggle with forgiveness. Even as I was writing this or coming out, evolving this talk, I thought, wow, I don't know if I like that word forgiveness, because then it says I'm a victim. And then it's pointing the finger at someone. You did that to me. That doesn't resonate with me. But yet that is the word forgiveness. And so what I'm doing or learning is, you know, it happened. You did the best that you could. I did the best that I could. In fact, I came up with something I thought of in the Bible. Jesus was one of our greatest teachers of forgiveness, right? he prayed for his persecutors. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They know not what they do, meaning possibly their intention was not meant to damage you or to hurt you. They knew not what they were doing. And that's how I like to look at when I feel that there have been injustices or what have you. Is, Father, forgive them. I release them to you. I release my feelings, however that looks. And once you forgive yourself, you're free to forgive others, and then you go into gratitude. I am so grateful for all the experiences I've had. And I've had dark days. 'Cause like I started initially to name my talk, even on my weakest days, I get a little stronger. Even on my weakest days, I get stronger. So that experience, along with other experiences, made me who I am today, a spiritual warrior. Powerful, invincible, strong, loving, truthful, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like I said, when I do get the opportunity to share, people, oh, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Just like when I hear friends getting a divorce, it's not natural for me to say I'm sorry, because I figured it's divine. It's happening what is meant to happen. It may not feel good at the time, but if you can trust long enough with patience and faith, you will see the gifts that unfold. So I don't know what I'm going to face this week. I don't know what you're going to face this week. But what I can tell you is to let go and know. Know that God is in control with you as your partner, as your guide. And this is the first step to serenity in your life. Regardless of what it looks like, regardless of perception, use everything for advancement, upliftment, and growth. And now you know why that's my gift. That whole ordeal with my children was a gift. Because otherwise, I would have still been wondering about God. What is God? How is God? Like I said, it led me to these teachings, to these understandings. And it's been a continuous unfoldment, and that I'm so grateful for. So, thank you, whoever planted the seed about me speaking about forgiveness. Thank you, Spirit. And I have to tell you, every time I come up here to give a talk, I get a little nervous. And I'm thinking, you're a school teacher. You teach adults. You're in front of a classroom 5 days a week. Why are you getting nervous now? But then I walk in here and I see you guys and I feel the love and safety of this community. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful. So thank you. So at this time,